David Smith here with another Flip Classroom math video. A few tips before we start. Remember that you can slow down or speed up the playback if that helps you follow along. You can also pause the video at any point to catch up with your notes or to try the problems before I explain them. Finally, you could turn on the captions and read my words below on the bottom of your screen. Today's topic, experimental probability. It's the first lesson in our probability chapter, and I'm hoping that you'll enjoy it because probability really relates to real life more than algebra tends to do. So let's take a look at the general parameters for looking at probability. A 0% chance means that the event won't happen, okay? Just, it cannot happen. That would be like me saying, what's the percent chance that when I let go of this eraser, it's going to fall upwards? We're going to say 0% chance of that happening. So the probability of that is 0, numerically speaking. Now, a 50% chance that an event happens, it's going to be about half the time. Roughly 50 times out of 100 it'll happen, the other 50 it won't. This could be a coin flip. Flip a coin, it's about a 50% probability that you'll get heads. Numerically, that could be expressed as 50% or 0.5. Lastly, a 100% chance, that's that the event is actually certain to happen. No matter what, it's going to happen. That would be like, if I let go of the eraser, what's the percent chance that it falls down? That's certain, 100% probability. Let's test that. It fell down. So numerically, that's 100% or a probability of 1. Okay, let's look at some vocabulary before we start doing some problems. 4 key words to know. I'm going to explain them here, and I'm going to use an example along the way. So let's say we have a coin, and we're not sure if it's a fair coin. So we want to flip it a bunch of times and see what we get. So we take that coin and we flip it 10 times, okay? So number of trials is the number of times the event is repeated. The event is the coin flip, so if I flip it 10 times, my trials would be 10. Outcomes. This is the number of possible outcomes. So for a coin flip, how many outcomes are there? Just 2, heads or tails. This assumes that you're not going to flip a coin and have it land on its edge. Pretty hard to do. Frequency. This is the number of times a particular outcome happens. So let's say we flip our coin 10 times and we get 6 heads. It's very possible. So the frequency of heads would be 6. The frequency of tails would be 4. Okay? Last thing is the relative frequency. This is the number of times a particular outcome happens, the frequency, over the number of trials. So in our little example, the relative frequency of heads would be 6 over 10. The relative frequency of tails would be 4 over 10. Okay, let's do an example using experimental probability. But a little talking before we jump into it. Let's say we attend a school that has 1,500 students. And we're interested to know if we ask a randomly selected student the following question. Do you consider yourself an international student? Are you from overseas? Or do you consider yourself a domestic student? Are you from our country? And we want to get a sense of what the probability would be of those types of answers if we ask a random student. So instead of asking all 1,500 of them, we're going to ask a much smaller number that question and track our results. And then we'll use our results, that's our experiment, to estimate the probability for any student at our school. Okay? So that's how experimental probability works. Let's take a look. I made a table. We're going to use tables a lot in this unit. And we'll talk more about all of this stuff in a sec, but I want to focus right on this first column. We ran around and we asked a bunch of students, and 42 said they're domestic, 51 said they're international, and 6 said they're both. So let's go through our vocab. How many trials? Well, a trial is each time we ask that question. So that's 42 plus 51 plus 6, which ends up being 99. So we have 99 trials. How many outcomes? 3 possible answers, domestic, international, or both. So our number of outcomes is 3. Okay, so let's move through those vocabulary terms and do a little bit of calculation. What's the relative frequency of domestic students? It's going to be 42, the frequency, over the trials, which is 99. And we're going to get the same thing, 51 over 99 for international, and 6 over 99 for both. Okay? So now we can calculate our probability by taking these fractions and turning them into decimals and percentages. So I just got out my calculator and did that. I got 0.424 for the probability, which is 42.4%. Now, a little word on rounding, because I get asked this all the time. I rounded this to the third decimal, and then when I multiply it by 100 to get a percent, I kept that decimal there. You don't want to round this to just 42, because that implies that it's exactly 42%. You want to carry at least one decimal into your percentage if it indeed is there, okay? Same thing with 51 over 99, that's 0.515, which is 51.5%, and then 6 out of 99 is 0.061 or 6.1%. Now there's something interesting about these numbers. Take a look. If you spotted that they add up to 1 or 100%, you're correct. These decimals should add all the way up right to 1, which they do, and the percentages should add up to 100%. Now that shouldn't be surprising, because what that means is that if we ask 99 people this question, it's 100% probability, it's certain that they're going to say either domestic, international, or both. Now that you've finished, take a moment to write down any questions so you can bring them to our next class and get some help. You can also watch the video again to improve your understanding. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button down below, and if you'd like to help me grow my YouTube channel, please click subscribe.